Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where every day we try to break down complex topics in technology and put them in a language that everyone can understand. And today, I want to explore how Oasis is addressing the complexity of data sharing in Web3. And Oasis has also been working towards building responsible data DAOs and powering the next gen of Web3 with privacy, speed, and security. But how are they doing that? Well, I want to learn more about all this and how by leveraging the Oasis Protocol, developers can address the complexities of data sharing in Web3 by enabling individual data sovereignty, right to own and share data on their own terms. Not to mention governance for data rights, prevention of misuse, abuse, and more. But I don't want to reveal any spoilers, so buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where Linda Liu is waiting to speak with us today. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
My name is Linda Liu. I am the head of ecosystem at Oasis. I joined the team in 2019. I've been with the team for, I think, around 2 years and a half now. Right now, I am managing cross-functional teams of product, marketing, community, and business development. It's been great. Just learning a lot, doing a lot of things, and then doing our best to contribute to the ecosystem and network we're building here.
Fantastic. And what I'd love to do before we find out any more is, yes, here in 2022, everything's about DeFi, NFTs, metaverse, and so much more. But I want to take you way, way back before any of that. What's your origin story? How did you get here? Can you remember that moment where your passion for tech came from and what lit that spark in you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, that was such a long time ago. So before I joined Oasis, I was actually on the kind of investment side of things for about 8 years. I was an investor. I graduated from college in 2011. And my first job was, as an analyst, research analyst at a long-only equity fund. And I was covering technology. So at that time, it was hardware tech, software tech, mostly on the hardware tech, because I was based in Asia and covering some stocks in Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, mostly around semiconductors, those sort of things. And then I moved on to a hedge fund, continue to cover technology, but I was doing long short, equity fundamental long short. Continue to look at hardware, and I started to look at a bit of software, internet, and those sort of things. And then I just got fascinated about how things are going. In that space, I guess you can call it. Now you have Web 3.0. Back then I was looking at Web 2.0. So those amazing companies, amazing mega platforms emerged and really kind of like became the center of the world. I was just very fascinated about it. And while I think back in, it was 2014 and 15, I started to realize the limitation of myself, my job, doing what I'm doing, like doing research on companies and hoping, to make return for our LPs on investment and such. And then you start to see this AI, artificial intelligence, and that just like, at that time, I just thought, okay, my job would eventually be displaced by artificial intelligence. I think those robots can make a much better investment decision than what I was doing at that point. So then I just like, and I was like, no, I gotta be doing something that cannot be displaced by AI. And then so I pivot. I moved to early stage VC. And looking at those cutting edge technologies, like that at that time was AI, machine learning, and enterprise SaaS software. And I think back in 2017, 18, while I was working at early stage VC, I just got massively exposed to crypto and blockchain, because you start to see a lot of the deals in that space coming to your decks. Because before it was mostly just the SaaS and software, internet and stuff, Web 2.0. And then you start to see the early stage of Web 3.0, just like, and you start to look at those deals, and then you're just like, seems drastically different. As first, they're now equity deals, they're token deals, and then you start to understand the tokenomics that just like drastically different from a typical equity investment. But anyway, so long story short, that just like meeting all those amazing founders when I was in VC, and I actually eventually met my current founder, Professor Dong Song of Oasis, when I was in VC. I met her conference, and we kept in touch. And after several conversations, she brought me to the team in 2019. So, and that's the new journey began since then. So it was a lovely adventure journey, I will say. But it was very rewarding, for sure.
Wow. It really was an incredible journey. I absolutely love that. I think it's so important to share those stories as well for other people listening at the very beginning of their own journey. But it was that path that led you to the Oasis Protocol, which is on a mission to build a better internet for all with an L1 blockchain, powering the next gen of Web3 with privacy, speed and scalability. But I'm conscious we will have members of your community listening, but we'll also have people way outside of the industry just wanting to learn a little bit more about it. So for those people that are hearing about you for the first time, can you just offer a brief overview on what Oasis is?
So Oasis Network is the leading privacy-enabled and scalable proof-of-stake layer 1 network. And these features allow us to power a scalable DeFi/Web3 applications, revolutionize, we believe, open finance, and expand it beyond just traders and early adopters, bring those to the mainstream, to the mass market. And beyond that, our network, Oasis Network, is also very versatile. And that is by design. And what do we mean by that? So we have this very unique layer architecture that we have the consensus layer and the compute layer. So we decouple compute from the consensus, which is not really commonly seen among other networks such as Ethereum, whereas consensus compute all happening on the same layer. And that probably one of the reasons why Ethereum is not very fast. But Oasis, we have the consensus layer and the compute layers. The computer, we call it pair time, which is short from parallel runtimes, so pair times. And that allows us to support just a wide range of compute demands, include both confidential and non-confidential compute. And what is commonly known in the DeFi crypto world right now is mostly around EVM compatibility, that type of compute. But as we know, that's just like one very specific type of compute. And there's just a wide range of compute you commonly see in the Web 2 world. And Oasis is a network that is versatile enough to be able to cater to all kinds of compute because this network potentially can spin up, let's say, up to 1,000 pair times. So right now we have 3. One is EVM, one is confidential, and one is pair time catered specifically more towards enterprise applications. But we believe there will be a lot more on the network, a lot more pair times, be able to cater all kinds of different compute demands as the industry continues to evolve. So I guess to summarize, Oasis Network is highly scalable, decentralized, low gas fees, secure, versatile, and most importantly, privacy enabled because of the cutting edge privacy preserving technologies that we have.
I love that. And I also recently read, before you came on the podcast today, that Oasis is also addressing the complexity of data sharing in Web3. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how you're doing that and working towards building those responsible data DAOs?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So I think, that was, I think we gave a presentation at East Denver and then I kind of unpack our beliefs and vision for data DAOs. But I think for the listeners of this podcast, I think it's important to give everyone kind of the context behind why we're doing what we're doing, right? Like why data DAO? Like why do we see a demand? I think it is a problem kind of originated from the Web 2 world where like you have those mega platforms and you do have users such as ourselves be able to participate in the internet, which you were not able to do in the Web 1.0. In Web 2.0, you are not just a passively reading messages. You can participate. You can contribute your own opinions. You can post pictures. But all those data you contribute to network is mostly being used by the mega platform to curate, let's say, better services to you, as well as, they can monetize from the data you contribute via those targeted ads or something. So that's one of the ways for them to monetize. But we believe there is a world where there should be an internet that is for builders, creators, and users, not just mega platforms. We're building an internet that is supposed to be bring ownership back to the builders, the creators, and users. And that's the whole context behind data DAO and data sharing. Like, how do you ensure that data contributors not just contribute data, but they can get rewarded fairly via those data transactions? Because these days you still see a lot of news making headlines like, oh, some data brokers kind of selling users' data, like millions of user data, and making hundreds of millions of dollars via their transactions without the underlying users, the contributors, even aware of those data transactions when those data transactions were happening. So in the Web3 world, those things we're hoping could be eliminated in a way that not the data transaction will be eliminated, but more like people will be the actual contributors will actually be rewarded. But how are we doing it? I mean, we understand the challenge in doing that. Those are like what we just talked about. Those are great visions. But how do we actually enable it? So you need a couple of things. So on a high level, you need a DAO. That basically, for people who are not so familiar with DAO itself, it's a DAO essentially is a decentralized autonomous organization. And data DAO specifically is for individuals and entity that kind of supports, individual data rights, reward data owners for data use, and handle data with confidentiality and privacy while data is in use, and with the verifiable transparency in its operations. So all the data transactions will be logged in the immutable log. That could be, and distributed ledger is one form of that, supported by blockchain networks such as Oasis. So what we want to do with the DAO is essentially to break data silos. So we actually, through data DAO, we want to encourage more data sharing. So it's not just about data siloed in within one group. So it can be shared, such as in the healthcare industry, we constantly are facing this kind of data silo issues where patients' data are not necessarily being shared with entities and research organizations, nonprofits who can really benefit from the patient's data to accelerate some new inventions. And then beyond breaking data silos, we want to make sure that in this kind of individual data sovereignty, that you actually own your data, that you can stipulate how you want your data to be used, shared, and being computed upon, and eventually realize this responsible data use by giving ownership back to users and making sure that they are fairly rewarded by contributing their data to and sharing with data consumers. Those can be research organizations and entities or individuals who can really benefit from that data. And all of these need to be, again, supported by some of the enabled technologies. So at Oasis, we have this data tokenization, or you can call it data NFT. For people who are familiar with NFT, this kind of concept, it's basically essentially a token that provides access to run computations on data, and that backs the token and make sure that data use is consistent with the policy specified by the users, like how I want my data to be used, by whom, and to what extent. And all of these is kind of wrapped under this data token. Let's call it data NFT. And that's just one part of the new technology. And then you have the other part, which is how do you ensure your data is computed in the privacy preserving way and honoring users' data policy is through this responsible data technology, or you can call it confidential compute technology. So those are it could be secure enclave / trust execution environment, secure multi-party compute, federated machine learning, differential privacy, a bunch of those computational compute technologies. And those different technologies are commonly used specifically for different type of compute demands. But like depend on users' data policy, how users want their data to be used, and how data consumers want to use the data, you will choose one or multiple of those responding technologies to run computation on data on the data provided by users. Of course, while honoring the data policy originated by the data user, the data contributor, I mean.
And just to bring to life what we're talking about here and just how big a deal it is, last year, the Oasis Foundation launched a $160 million fund for DeFi, NFTs, Metaverse, and so much more. So can you tell me a little bit more about that announcement and where this fund is going to focus on?
Oh, yeah. So, that was a really kind of, we feel very proud of that ourselves as well. We're very tremendously grateful for people who want to contribute to the Oasis ecosystem fund. And actually, right now, the ecosystem fund is actually over $200 million now, with some new backers, new supporter joining the ecosystem fund. So in a nutshell, we created this ecosystem fund primarily to support founders, entrepreneurs, teams to build Web3 using Oasis network technology. So the Web3 are your commonly known, such as DeFi, NFT, crypto gaming, and Metaverse, and all these that you commonly see on Ethereum, maybe some other networks. And beyond that, we also understand Web3, as we previously just touched base upon, it's not just about those solidity-based applications like DeFi and NFT, right? Like you also kind of like what exactly do people want beyond Web 2? So those data DAOs, data tokenization, data sovereignty, data governance, those related privacy dApps, privacy applications. So those will be part of focus area as well. So essentially we created this ecosystem to encourage founders, entrepreneurs, and teams to build Web3 applications using the Oasis network technologies. So to listeners out there, to especially this podcast listeners out there, if you have any interesting ideas around Web3, do let us know. Go to our website. There's a section called Ecosystem Fund, and there's a link to the application form. So we definitely welcome and excited to see interesting applications building on the Oasis network. And we hope the Ecosystem Fund can be a interesting and useful tool to accelerate to achieve what you want to achieve.
And ask anyone listening that frequents this space, what is the number one gripe? And I suspect that most would say gas fees. I know I'm in a crypto WhatsApp group and gas fees is the number one complaint of everybody in there. But I read recently that the Oasis network states that it improves the usability of DeFi and expands it beyond traders and early adopters through 99% lower gas fees than Ethereum. Can you expand on that? Because there's a big win straight away, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So absolutely. So Ethereum, we have tremendous respect for Ethereum network. They are the OG. They started very early. There's the whole smart contract and everything. And then the very early stage of DeFi kind of all built on Ethereum. So they definitely pioneered the DeFi NFT move in the industry. But as you start to have more and more transactions on Ethereum, I think because of the nature of that network, it's just like, it's a bit slow, and because they were previously using proof of work, and that just like, as you see in the Bitcoin network, that is even slower than Ethereum. And then I think they're doing via either the previous London upgrade or some other things they're about to do in the future. They want to pivot to proof of stake, which is the proof of stake is what has been Oasis consent mechanism from the get-go since we launched the mainnet in November 2020. So using proof of stake definitely helps you be a lot faster than where you were before. But that's just not just the only thing. I think as we previously chatted about, Oasis has this kind of like a layered architecture where we decouple compute from the consensus. So our consensus as we said, is using proof of stake consensus mechanism. That is only the consensus. And the compute, the smart contract, everything, the fun stuff, the DeFi, the NFT, the crypto gaming, all these private dApps that we just chat about are all happening on the compute layer. And depending on different compute needs, we will spin up different parallel runtime paradigms to cater to those compute. So we have this Emerald EVM compatible paradigm. That's where we have all the DeFi NFT happening. And for other compute, that will be other paradigms to cater to that. So that allows us, and those computes in different runtimes can be processed in parallel. So that allows us just to be very, very scalable. Just that kind of, because this unique layer architecture allows us to be very scalable and super secure. That is just not something that Ethereum has. And that's why we can proudly say that Oasis Network is highly scalable and low gas fees. And hence we provide a really unique and a great user experience for people who are involved in DeFi on Oasis.
And again, before you came on the podcast today, I was researching you, and I read a great interview where you shared your vision of a future where Web3 users will control their own data, and privacy is such a hot topic right now. So, can I ask that you share that with everyone listening today, for anyone that's not seen that interview?
I think it's interesting to look back, before we kind of envision for the future. I think it's always interesting to look back on the history of internet, and then because that can really teach us a lot. And from that, we'll be able to see how future could potentially unfold for Web3, right? If you look at the Web 1.0, that's in the 90s or maybe the early 2000s. That's your AOL of the world. And they did a good job, I would say. They provide this portal where people can read messages and then read news and digitize magazines. And then as internet users, it's a great information portal for you to read, to get information. And then you have Web 2.0, where you have those mega platforms start to emerge. You have Facebook, Google, and many others. Those start to really became the center and of the internet. And your users are not just passively reading information from the internet. They are actually able to participate by uploading photos and videos and the messages. And but then their data is not necessarily but as a creator and users, you're not being rewarded for data you contribute to the platform. The data you contribute to the platform is mainly used to by the AI, the personalization, this kind of algorithm to curate better service to, which is a good thing. And on the other hand, they also use that to bring more targeted ads, to further to allow the platform to monetize. And then that is just is not necessarily we consider super fair, in a sense that data contributors are not necessarily part of the value chain. The value chain is primarily evolved kind of around the data platforms, the mega platforms, and advertisers. And obviously there are many middlemen as publisher and stuff, but as a data contributor, you're not really part of that value chain yourself. So that is something we believe Web3 can theoretically disrupt or change or improve. So in a sense that in the Web3, as we talk about via potentially could be data DAO or could be any other forms where data contributors will get rewarded for things they contribute to the Web3. It could be, and we're already seeing the NFT is just really kind of manifests that kind of thinking where you have artists and artists create some really interesting digital art and then sell it on OpenSea or some other platforms. You rarely have agencies, a middleman or something kind of taking either 10%, 15% cut or something, right? And the play to earn gaming is also kind of manifest that as well. You have gamers who participate, very kind of in a very kind of interesting way in the gaming, and they get rewarded and for that as well. And the play to earn gaming, you can also eliminate those traditional gaming publishers or something. Right? It's really just about game studios who came up with a game, very interesting game, and gamers. And there's a very interesting tokenomics happening in that ecosystem. So I think, and that just like a small fraction within the whole Web3 world. It's not just about, right, like just NFT and gaming. We're talking about potentially very broad privacy or any DApp application using privacy that allows users to share data and while being rewarded for the data they contribute to the ecosystem. And that could be you want to contribute data for some healthcare organizations or research organizations to do research on your data. And how can you potentially be rewarded from that data transaction while making sure your data is kept confidential while in use, in transit and everything. So it's just like, I think these just like opens up just a huge potential for how like for data transaction, data tokenization, all these sort of things. We're very excited about the future of Web3 and especially around how data is being used, how data is being shared.
And there is so much hype at the moment around NFTs and the metaverse. So I'm curious, how do you think these areas will converge in the near future? Can you paint a bit of a vision of what you see we're heading towards and what that future will look like?
Yeah. So you already kind of starting to see like NFT started to evolve on its own, right? Like before it was mostly a 2D, like kind of like a JPEG on chain. And then you start to see 3D, you start to see interactive arts kind of like on those NFT platforms. And then you start to see those NFT integrated with those play to earn games. So before in the Web2 world, the sword, the shield you got from games are kind of like in that ecosystem. You're not going to be able to transact much of that ecosystem. You cannot like I play 7 hours in some game and I earn this super rare sword, but can I really sell that? Can I really get rewarded for the 7 hours game? Time I spent on this game? In the Web2 world, it's kind of hard. But in the Web3 world, once you have those NFT marketplace integrated with gaming, and some gaming, as we know, they also kind of have their own like NFT store or something. So you will be able to immediately monetize from the time and the effort you spend on certain things. So gamers, not just gamers, you can also call them contributors, maybe creators to a certain extent. So that is really exciting. And then beyond this kind of like gaming and stuff, NFT can also be in some sort of like a membership, and that will be like require some sort of privacy preserving technology. Like NFT can be some sort of like you kind of like some sort of like a membership card and for some services, and that is so it goes way beyond just art. So it can be used as like, let's say, celebrity membership card for their loyal fans or something, and that they have different tiers. The super loyal fans of certain celebrities, certain singer, artists, or something. Obviously, that NFT will have the user interaction related data packed kind of like underneath. So all of these is just like super interesting the way I look at it. That is, I think eventually NFT will go way beyond just art or either 2D or 3D art. It's I think integration with gaming it's a step one, and step two there could be like a membership, and step three and way beyond is what we talk about, those kind of data tokenization, like data NFT. Like how do you wrap data under this NFT, and you have data policies stipulated under that token, so you can't have users' data being used and shared by people who are interested in that data, and while have the data contributor being rewarded for how they for that data piece. Yeah.
And I'm conscious we've given everyone a great overview of Oasis who are listening and hearing about you for the first time. And we will have members of your community listening that have listened patiently throughout in the hope of hearing a teaser. So for those people, is there anything you can leave with your community members listening about maybe a teaser about the future of Oasis or what they can expect on the horizon?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think Oasis is the platform pioneering Web3. And for people who are excited about Web3, who are specifically around those builders, entrepreneurs, founders, and teams who want to build DeFi, NFT 2.0, metaverse, crypto gaming, privacy dApps, or any sort of Web3 applications, please join us. Please go to our grants. We have many programs that can set up to support those amazing teams out there. So we have grants program, we have ecosystem fund program, we have accelerator programs. All these details about the programs are on our website, oasisprotocol.org. So we set those programs for you, for people who work for builders out there. So please build, and please build on Oasis.
Love that. And we've now reached the point of the podcast where I ask the guests to leave everyone listening with a touch of personal inspiration. So is there a book that has inspired you in your career, or maybe a song or piece of music that just helps you get your head in the zone, or if you're going on stage? Is there anything you can leave us with today, and maybe a story to accompany your choice too?
There's just so many books out there and so many songs out there.
Yeah.
How about I share a quote?
Yeah.
And this has been super kind of inspiring. So it's this quote, I love it so much. It goes it says we live in a world where ego gets attention, but it is modesty gets results. We live in a world where arrogance makes headlines, but it is humility makes a true difference. So, that just when I saw this, I was just wow, it resonates with me so much. And specifically in crypto and blockchain industry, you have so much noise, you have so much hype and a lot of things, and that is good and bad. It's in both ways. But it is important for us to the builders, and including us ourselves, kind of remind ourselves that to stay humble, stay open-minded, stay disciplined, and focus on what you believe what Web3 should look like, and contribute in a way that allows you to play to your strength. So stay modest, stay humble, stay open-minded. Hopeful. I hope that's helpful.
Wow, it really is such a powerful quote and a beautiful end to this podcast. But before I do let you go, for anyone listening that wants to join the community, stay up to speed with the developments, or contact your team, or just learn more about what you're doing, what's the best starting point for everything?
Well, so go to our website. I think at the bottom of the website, we have all different social channels that we are present. So we have our Twitter is at Oasis Protocol, and our Medium is Oasis Protocol Project, and we're super active on Reddit, Discord, and I don't remember the specific links, but on the bottom website you'll be able to see all the hyperlinks to all the channels, all the social groups that we're involved in. So join our community, and for builders, again, please apply via our grants program, accelerator program. Oh, we actually recently just launched the hackathon. So it's been targeting people who are interested in DeFi and gaming and everything. So you'll be able to see the links and how to apply for hackathon on our website as well.
Awesome. And I think it's oasisprotocol.org, isn't it? That's right.
Yes, that's right.
Cool. Excellent. Well, I'll get that link added to the show notes so people can find you nice and easily. So much I've loved about chatting with you today, especially about how you're addressing the complexity of data sharing in Web3 and all the great work you're doing and giving everyone an overview. So I hope everyone found it as useful as I did. I certainly learned a thing or two. But more than anything, thank you for sharing that along with your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Neil. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for taking the time.
So you've heard from me and Linda today, but I suspect you have a few insights of your own to share. So as always, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. If you've got anything to share, any questions, or if you want to come on the podcast, just let me know. And if not, I'll invite you all to join me again tomorrow where I've got another guest lined up. So a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.